Hey everybody, welcome back to this old trike. On today's episode, I want to tell you about this this blast cabinet I bought. This is going back to March. I was out riding with my good buddy Doug Pete and a bunch of his friends, our friends now, and I found a blast cabinet that had been converted to a vapor honing setup. I don't know if you've seen any of these YouTube videos that are out there with people that have taken mostly a Harbor Freight blast cabinet and done this little conversion, but they're pretty neat. So let me show you this one. So this is the one I picked up. This is from back in March. It sat outside my shop for probably a month just waiting for some room because I was in the process of working on this room. This is my bonus shop. Mostly complete, but I haven't got the roof in, or the ceiling rather, and some other things. But I finally had a spot for it. I've been using my sandblast cabinet for a couple things. The 350X, 86 350X I was just working on. But I wanted to use this for some aluminum pieces on my 88 Big Red. So I brought it in here and I got it set up. And basically, it's the same idea as a regular blast cabinet, but you take out the little door at the bottom that holds the media, the blast media in your funnel portion. And instead you're using a bucket with a sump pump that's in there, and it's got a T that sends some of the pumped material into the bottom of the bucket and churns it up. The rest is being pumped upward through this larger diameter hose into this nozzle. You mix it with the air, and it's a crude vapor honing setup, and it's pretty cool. I did some samples over here. The first thing I did was this brake drum off a Big Red, and it came out nice. This is literally 5 minutes, and I'll overlay a picture of what this looked like before. It was seriously, it wasn't that heavily soiled, and I could do more with this. And I'm actually not using as fine of a glass bead as I should be. So I could do better. But that was just a down and dirty test piece. This is the rear differential off the 88 Big Red I'm working on. And yeah, I know it's not perfect, and I only gave it a quick hit. I sandblasted this first because it was so heavily pitted and soiled. But then I put it in the vapor hone, and it really, I think with some more time and just focusing in on some of these areas, it will really come out nice. This was just a 250R triple tree that I did half on. So I wanted to show Palin. But this was 3 minutes. So really cool. It's not, they come out satiny if you've got a better bead, like the pieces that Mike Pomgren did for me for my 250R, the cases and the triple and all the aluminum pieces. They came out so nice. Almost too nice if you're wanting to recreate a factory finish. So anyway, this got me thinking about my 88 Big Red motor, which is in this room. And I've got to plug in my light here to really see it. But I've been bead blasting on this. Let me get my light plugged in here. I've been bead blasting on this, and it's coming out decent. But it's dry. It's a dry look. And I don't know if it's probably because I'm not using the best quality beads, and I did buy some better quality beads. I'm recirculating what comes off the motor into the gun again, and I'm just using a handheld blaster gun down here, and it's getting all over me while I do this. So, but I saw the finish on those pieces that came out of my blast cabinet, and I thought, man, That's what I want for this motor. That's what I want things to look like. So I thought, how do I do that? I could probably get my motor in there, maybe. Probably not, but maybe. But I can't manipulate it and turn it, and that's probably not strong enough to support a 250 ES motor. So I thought, well, maybe I get the motor in here and it can hang from that hook that I'm using, and then I can funnel the water back in and it would be the same thing. But man, that's a nightmare. I just wondered if there was some sort of enclosure, watertight box that could collect the water as I'm doing this. And I was just thinking, what do I have? What do I know of that could do that? Could I build? I don't want to build something. I don't have time to build something. I'm under the deadline here. Like, this is old. This is way, I'm still in the teens with days left for Trike Fest, but what do I know of that could be an enclosure like what I need? And then I thought, IBC tote. That could do it. I apologize if the wind is more out here than it is inside, but I had the idea to take an IBC tote, and I'm going to turn this into a temporary engine, fully assembled engine vapor hone apparatus. I've been thinking it through, and I'm going to go for it. So I think I'm going to do some time lapse and maybe some voiceover to let you know what my plan is. So here we go. All right. So I cut the top off that thing. You probably noticed that. And there was still some stuff in there. I don't know what was in here. They said it was non-toxic. And okay, let's back up. IBC tote. What's IBC stand for? I don't know. I'll Google it and probably maybe over label what that stands for. But a lot of times these are bought by people who want to use them to have supplemental watering for their gardens. It has been a dry summer so far, so I picked one up for the garden, and while I was there I picked one up for this little project. And a lot of times you can find these on Marketplace. You can get them in different grades. I forget what they called this one, grade B maybe. It's not only been used for water. I think that was grade A, but this can be rinsed and put water in it. But the higher grade A, is nicer. And then you can get ones that have had bad stuff in it. And a lot of times people will use those or the frames from those for firewood or things like that. So who knows if we can find a use for that. But I just need the tote. I don't need it for its structure, so I didn't mind taking it out of the metal. What I'm going to do, and what you're going to see, is hang a chain in my one room we were just in from the ceiling. And I'm going to pop this red cap off and feed the chain down through the red cap that will ultimately hang the motor from. But I'll put the lid on first. and then suspend that up above the hook, and then I'll hook the motor that we currently saw behind door number 1 from the chain, and then I'm going to lift the bottom up around the motor and attach the bottom back to the top, overlapping it on the outside, and then screwing a couple sheet metal screws or whatever's handy. So then the whole thing is hanging from the chain. I need to cut a window that I will be attaching a piece of plexiglass through to, so I can see through. And then I'm gonna insert my gloves. I've got a set on order, but I'm gonna harvest the gloves off my one machine to mount to the plexiglass to use on the side of this guy. And then I'll have a hanging motor inside of a containment apparatus. The water will drain in theory. Anyway, let's get this a little further along and see how bad of an idea this really is. I'll keep you posted. Well, there you have it. I think that's where I'm going to pause for right now. I just measured and my lid is way high. I've got 35 inches from the bottom of the cut to the bottom of the motor where it needs to be. So this needs to come down at least a foot, at least half of that chain length. But I feel that is secured. It's not going to fall. I am going to have to include some light in here. And I've got some 4-foot LED versions of this that I'll probably slip one in. Maybe mount it to the underside of this somehow if I can go at an angle, or I don't know if it'll fit. Gotta measure what 4 feet is. Maybe I can't. But I need to be able to spin the cube separate of the motor, because I need to be able to spin the motor in the cube. So the only thing connecting the lid and the cube to the system is just, you know, the surface friction between that 5-gallon pail lid and the bolt. So I think I'm going to get up early and cut a hole in the side of the container and put my plexiglass in and take these gloves off of this unit so I can still sandblast, but until I get those other gloves in, I'll be reduced to vapor honing in this, so it's kind of going for it. But I think it'll be good. Wow. They're really clicking right by. Yesterday, right before my battery died, we had gotten this motor hanging in here with this lid up top. And now we've got this guy dragged in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this lid, I'm sorry, the bottom, sitting on those milk crates. Well, I'll probably fix that bottom one a little bit better. And I want to see if I can get it attached to the top, and or at least sitting there to figure out where my window is going to be. I got a piece of plexiglass here that I'm going to mount to the side. But this is too far up the chain. And what I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by my dead battery is I've got one day, and that is today now, before I head out of town for work for a week. So I don't get any mornings or evenings for the next 5 days. Maybe a couple hours. That's not fully true. Maybe a couple hours tomorrow morning, and then sometime Friday night. So I do miss all of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But that's the plan, to now zip a couple screws into this to hold it to the lid, see how she hangs, see how bad of an idea this is, and hopefully it works. Let's see how it goes. So I've just been on a little field trip to go check out a big red tank that turned up as a buddy of mine was helping an old timer empty out his garage, and it turned out to be nothing that you want to bring home. But gave me an excuse to go out to the hardware store where I bought some weather stripping, which I'm going to run. I'm going to make a cut here to the full width of the plexiglass, and also here to the full width of the plexiglass. The plexiglass will slide, if we do it horizontally, we'll slide it in, rotate it down, so that'll kind of be the hinge point. So it'll be inside the enclosure down bottom, be outside the enclosure up here. I'm going to put some weather stripping around the opening. I'm going to put 2 nuts, one there, one here, silicone them. And I've got some wing nuts. What did I do with my hardware? I'll put it somewhere. So I can hinge the plexiglass up. Put the hole in the plexiglass will go over the stud. Wing nut it. Then it makes it watertight. I got to put the gloves through the plexiglass. And that's how it'll be, I think. And that'll give me access to look in here to see how I'm doing on my work. I do think I'm going to have to drill a hole up top somewhere. Maybe in that region. And feed a LED light through there. I think I'm going to have to. I don't know if that's going to be super duper leaky or what, but we'll figure it out. I'm pretty excited. It's coming out great. So, I kind of like how it's come together. I just did a test run where I was letting the water flow. And what it looks like, see, this is a switch. So when it goes like that, it just starts pumping. I noticed it took a little while for the water to start coming out. So this is just a test to make sure I don't run the pump dry. If it can't recover, it's getting pretty low. Can't get out fast enough. That valve is open wide. So what does that mean? And the water's running out and leaving the bead in the enclosure. How about that? Look at all the glass bead just laying in there. Well, I got some thinking to do. I was really excited, but now I don't know if I can only go in 20-second spurts or what. Let me think about this. So, I drilled a hole, same as the OD for that tube, so it's now no longer coming through the drain. We'll see if that's going to be an issue, or if just the fact of using it, you see glass bead all over the place. It doesn't drain like I would have hoped. I don't know that that's a deal breaker or anything just yet, but I'm gonna give it a go. Monitoring the bucket. Be cool if I had a helper here, but I don't. So I'm gonna give it a shot, and I'll report back in a minute. Let's focus on just this area in front and see if we can even that out. That's what I'll be doing. So, all afternoon has gone by, and it hasn't been the success I was hoping for. When we left off, I had moved the hose through the side, which isn't even there now. Nothing's hooked up because I was unsuccessful in a number of ways. Let me recap all my failures for you, and then we're going to talk about how we're going to leave it. So, what we experienced with that setup was when the hose came through here and I ran it, the water was running into the bucket, but leaving pretty much all the glass bead in the container. So eventually, once it cycled, you were just blasting your part with mostly water, and it wasn't doing anything. So that was disappointing. I had the great idea to then bring the cage in that we took off. So now it was sitting on the cage. I had some supports. I had a taller support in the front, medium in the middle, smallest at the back, so it was pitched back. And I put 20 plus gallons of water in that setup. Wait a minute. Oh, it's Palin. Hey girl. So 20 gallons, more glass bead. I put the sump pump. Let me show you this little operation here. Here's the sump pump. And this part is homemade by the previous owner, but there's a lot of YouTube videos that talk about this. So you're tapping into this right angle, and you put this T in, and this goes into a loop of tubing with holes drilled in it, and that agitates and keeps your slurry mixture a mixture. And then this goes to your hose. But what was happening up here was, when I had all that 20 gallons in here with all the glass bead was settling in that corner, and it wasn't being mixed. So even though I was blasting and trying to do something, I was just spinning my tires. Nothing was happening. And I was trying to manually mix it. You know, I'd blast for 30 seconds, and I'd hold the nozzle underwater and try to get it to churn up and go back and get a little bit, but it wasn't really doing anything. I was focusing on this little mark, trying to make that go away. Couldn't do it. So I have ideas of how I think that sump needs to run out of a bucket. I think you need to get all your liquid back to a bucket that sump pump is in, and it needs to carry all the bead with it. And one way is to cut the whole bottom out of this and make a funnel down to the bucket. Another way is I had an idea to put spray foam in here and build this up almost like a shower pan, so we're pitching it hard to the drain. Put the spray foam in and lay some plastic in, like vapor barrier, and kind of mold it, and that plastic's going to stick and stay there, but that'll seal it up nice. But I don't have time for that right now because Palin and I just tore down her 70 for Trike Fest. We have too many projects, and I don't have enough time to keep messing around with this. Honey, is that how you look in real life?
No.
All these people are going to think this
I'm
is...
weird.
Well, yeah, they know you're weird.
Weird.
Yeah, I'm weird too, but...
No.
Anyway, so here's the deal. Here's how we're going to leave it. I've basically made a nice little containment enclosure to continue on with blasting this with glass bead. Because one thing I did discover by getting it wet, it was not as clean as I thought I had it. So I'm going to keep hitting this with glass bead. And I'm going to be gone for 5 days. So nothing's going to happen. But this enclosure will allow me to not have to put my t-shirt over my head and the visor and everything. I can just put this back in place. Look, let's give Palin the camera. Come up here so I can show how cool this is.
So cool.
So you get it to slide in. This rocks up. Then you get your wing nuts. You can back up a little bit. You haven't got zoomed right in. It got higher because I put it on this crate, but there it is. So, I made this enclosure. I can continue blasting it with the glass bead. I've got some nicer glass bead that should give it a nice finish. If I don't like it, I can always change it later. This wasn't the solution I thought it was going to be. It probably will be with more work, but I think that's it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I've got a lot of things recorded. I just don't have a lot of things done. So there'll be a lot of video coming for Trike Fest, for builds for Trike Fest, at Trike Fest, and other things. But make sure you like, subscribe. You don't want to miss any of that stuff. And if you haven't become a member and you want to, I have a small number of members. I do some members only videos, and it's just me walking around my shop, honestly. But it helps me, helps support me, supports my channel, and I appreciate you. Have a great night. We'll talk to you later.